Salute to you all. The brave never fall. I'm Coach MJD Tiger, life coach and mentor. My passion and purpose is helping others find their passion and purpose. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Welcome to Visions. Be grateful and satisfied. There are no guarantees in life. We are not math problems. Our lives are not equations. There's no formula that will guarantee you happiness, love, and or peace. Be grateful and satisfied means accept life, your life, for what it is, and do what you can with the tools that you've been given, which is your DNA, who you are. There's no formula to make that DNA better. There's no equation or math problem that can make you more enhanced than who you are. Only you can do that through who you are, being who you are. We can't be someone else. We can only be and accept exactly who we are and be grateful and satisfied for every breath that we take in life. The book recommendation I have is How to Be Better at Almost Everything by Pat Flynn. This is a book that I stumbled upon out of nowhere. I had no idea that this book even existed, and I was just going through my audiobooks and I just happened to stumble on it and gave it a shot, and I end up loving this book. I listened to it countless times for over a week and a half. It's still one that I go back to and I just gravitate back towards this book. And it's just the way that it's narrated. And I recommend the audiobook, but of course you can read it, but I highly recommend the audiobook because you can get lost in it and do it, listen to it while you're doing all types of things. And it's just so interesting the way that this book tells you about literally everything that we do in life that we don't even think about and how we can do those things better. It is such a good book. I highly recommend How to Do Better at Almost Everything by Pat Flynn. How are you feeling? How are you feeling in your mind, mentally? How are you feeling in your body, physically? How are you feeling in your heart, emotionally? How are you feeling in your soul, spiritually? These are things I ask myself daily, morning, throughout the day, and before I close my eyes for peaceful and hopefully powerful sleep. Mind, body, heart, and soul. How am I feeling? I encourage you in this moment, take a moment of silence and ask yourself, how are you feeling? You are letting go of negativity and loss. Jettison all toxicity from your life. It's not worth it. No matter how much it feels that person is, that place is, or that thing is, it's not worth it. Jettison any toxicity, get rid of any negativity and loss. You have more respect for yourself and more self-love for yourself than that. You are. Visions. Episode 6, There Are No Guarantees in Life. There's a word that is not used often throughout mental health and mental awareness and just phobias in general, and that's thanatophobia. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but it's thanatophobia. Thanatophobia. I recommend you look up different types of phobias because any phobia has a link to stress, a link to anxiety, a link to depression, just anything that could make your day not as enjoyable as it would be if you weren't thinking about this thing. And I mentioned in a previous podcast that one of the things I used to struggle with was this, and it was thanatophobia. There's different levels of this. There are some extreme cases where, if you don't know what this is, obviously, thanatophobia is an extreme fear of death or the dying process. And I had it really bad after my father died. I didn't know this term existed. I didn't even know anything about phobias. When you're a child and when you're a young adult, you have a lot of phobias. So you don't think about it. You don't think, maybe I should research thanatophobia. But as I got older, this was something that I knew I had an issue with. And even till this day, I still have an issue with not so much me dying, but it's someone else. And there's another term for that. But I think the reason why I'm speaking about this is that it goes into there are no guarantees in life. And someone like me who was very fearful of death and the dying process. I remember even when I was a kid, even before my father died, I used to sit and wonder, what would it be like to die? What happens afterwards? And I grew up in the church. I grew up going to Sunday school every single Sunday for decades, all the way up until I was 25 years old. I was in the church, and I understood what would happen after you died in that sense. But I wanted to know not that. I want to know what happens when you die. Like, what do you feel? Like, forget the afterlife. Like, what does it feel like to actually die? And I used to be consumed by stuff like this. And I felt death around me all the time. And that not like so much like I'm some kind of sixth sense thing, but I started being a little overly aware when it was going to happen with someone close to me or something like that. I just had this fear that someone was going to die. And I would justify it by saying, okay, well, if someone got sick, then I got close, maybe that person would have died, But really what it is, it's just a fear that I wasn't facing. I wasn't asking myself what the issue was. And really what the issue was that all along, I was afraid that I was going to die around the same age as my father. My father died when he was 45. I'm 42 right now. So my whole life I've been thinking up until a certain point, I kept thinking that's probably going to happen to me. But after my son was born when I was 31, I realized that's going to happen if I allow it to happen. And that there are no guarantees in life. So that's the stuff I can't control. I can't control all the other things in life that could end my life at any moment. So that fear, that thanatophobia that I had wasn't as severe as some people. Like some people, they get like really bad panic attacks. You'll see them, they'll be sweating, they get nauseous, things like that. They get really hypersensitive to certain situations, certain rooms, and being around certain people in certain situations. They are like really afraid 24/7. They're thinking about death all the time. And that, there's a thing in our brain where we have something in our brains that masks that fear, or otherwise you wouldn't be able to function every day. It's that it's going to happen. It could happen to everyone else around me, but it won't happen to me. It's that type of control that our brain has that tells us this every day, that the worst could happen to everyone else, but it's not going to happen to me. When I pull up to this stoplight, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else got in a car accident, but it's not going to happen to me. I can see someone next to me gets really sick with some uncontrollable, uncurable disease. It's not going to happen to me. Our brains tell us that, or we would not be able to function every single day. So there's something in there that tells us. But people who have thanatophobia, they don't have that. Every single time they do anything, they think worst case scenario. And it wasn't so severe in that level, but I'm talking about this at the beginning of this podcast, this monologue here, because I want to set the tone for there are no guarantees in life. Once I realized that, that was me curing myself of that fear. And it's that fear of loss. It's that fear of loss in everything, not just people, not just yourself, but places and things as well. We can fear so many different things on so many different levels. And we'll be thinking about these things constantly in a loop, and we won't even realize it because we made it a norm in our life to worry about things and people and places, oftentimes that we can't control. But we often think about what we can't control versus what we can. We spend so much time worrying about what we can't control that the things that we can control get ignored. The people that we could be in relationships with, we take them for granted. The things that we can have, we get them and get bored with them. The places we can go, we visit them and we'll never visit them again because we've already been there, even though it was a great time. Why not go back? It's things like that. Be grateful and satisfied for every breath that you take, for every moment. A level of fear sometimes is good. A level of fear is what keeps you alive. The people that are so afraid to do everything kind of are onto something. It's just that old primal human instinct that we have that, we need to be cautious and alert about things that could potentially be bad for us. But that's only the case if we're using that in a way that's positive and returning that into success. It doesn't do us any good to be fearful and we don't have any outcome for it other than anxiety and, panic attacks and stress. We want to be aware that negative things can and will happen, but we have a level of control. And that control is we can control what happens in our moments. No, we do not have any control over what happens around us that can end our life at any moment or our loved one's life at any moment. We don't think about this stuff enough. It's extremely important to know that your life is finite, that the people around you is finite. The things that you have aren't guaranteed to always be there. The places that you love to visit, the places that you live, the place you live now is not guaranteed to you. But we wake up every single day, again, that thing in our brain that says, well, it could happen to the neighbors. It ain't going to happen to me. I'll be here forever. My family members will be here forever. I'll be here forever. That is a story we tell ourselves, and it's a false reality. Because speaking for somebody who knows, and it's hard to find somebody out there who knows someone who has someone close to them that hasn't passed away. Even a pet. It's a life. If you've lost something, the loss of a family, you grieve it like a death. I've been through all of that myself, and I can tell you, there is no difference between losing a loved one that is still alive and living versus someone who has died. You go through the grieving process the exact same way. The loss of a family, the loss of something that you really identify with as far as an object goes, or, to move away from a place. I've been through all that where I've had to go someplace else and leave a place that I loved and leave my friends behind. I've been through it, and the process is always the same. It's a grieving process. And the only way to get through it and to face it is to actually acknowledge the fact that you are grieving. Because we'll have people that tell us, well, why don't you just get over it? How do you get over fear? How do you get over fear of things that you honestly have no control over? You can't control being afraid of death. That's very hard to do. Now, we can distract ourselves from it. It's hard to run from the grieving process and say, well, I'm not grieving. Good luck with that. That's not how that works. We are conditioned to acknowledge and embrace those things. And because there are no guarantees in life, what it does is it makes each moment, or at least it's supposed to make each moment, feel that much more impactful, and it's supposed to lead you towards being grateful and satisfied for what, who, and where you have. If you have anything in your life that you feel like you should be grateful for, each moment you have is an opportunity to tell that person that you are grateful for, that you're grateful for them, to appreciate the objects in your life, the things in your life that, like, the inanimate objects that we have, the cars and the houses and things like that, the jobs that we have. We should be grateful. The place that we live. If you're content and happy with where you are living, and you're living a good life, and you're doing at least decent, which a lot of people don't, you should be grateful. You should not wake up every day scratching your head saying, I want more, more, more. And you haven't even acknowledged that you're grateful for what you have now. How do you build upon something that you're not appreciating in the moment? But human condition says that we should. We're built this way. More. Give me more. I need to stockpile more. Better. That grass is greener syndrome. Not where you water it. It's always over the next fence. Where if you just look down, there's plenty of grass for you to water, and it'll be super green if you attend to it. But we don't. We look too far to the horizon, and we don't look right in front of us. Not having a guarantee in life guarantees you this. If you don't focus on what you're grateful and satisfied for, when you lose it, that's when reality hits, and you will certainly be wishing you were grateful for it. But there's another word for that. It's called regret. It's called grieving. You will grieve that you had something, someone, someplace that was never guaranteed to you, and you took it for granted every single day. It is nothing worse than having something that you wish you can have back and you can't have it. The human condition is like that. We want who we can't have. We want what we can't have. We want where we can't have. We're never satisfied by what's in front of us. This person has to be better. This thing needs to be bigger and better. This place needs to be better. We're not building. That's not to say that things should not get better, because they should. But we're looking at external here. How can we make all these things be better if we're not better? Imagine. Take time to imagine in your mind how much better you'd be if you actually took the person, people, places, and things in your life and built upon the greatness through being satisfied with what you have and being grateful for what you have. How much better would that be if you can build upon true appreciation, being satisfied for all these things that aren't even, they're things that can be taken away. They're not things that you are just given because you have a right to have them. They're all privileges. If we build upon being grateful, if our blueprints are redesigned through being satisfied, being content with the moment and saying, I'm fine with it now. It doesn't have to stay like this. I just want it to grow from this. But the only way I can make it truly grow is I have to truly be open-minded enough to know where it can grow from. Otherwise, how do you build upon something that you're not even acknowledging? It is a short life when things are going great. But boy, it's a long life when things are going wrong. It's a short life when things are going great, but when things are going wrong, it's a long, hard, just trek. It's the only way I could put it. It's not even a journey at that point. It's not a path. It's a trek of misery because there's nothing that seems to be fitting in place. The blueprint doesn't work. Being in fear of people leaving our lives, and I will raise my hand every time and say that it was something I had fought and tried to make better for myself because I know I needed it. That fear of people leaving me, that all started with me. And it happened in different scenarios. Every scenario is not the same. So it carries over. My father left me, so why wouldn't this person I'm in a relationship leave me? Your brain in your heart, your soul cannot tell the difference between those things. It's the same with if you come home and your house is burnt down to the ground. And I've known people that this happened to. They grieve as if someone died. There is no difference between that scenario and a scenario where someone has broken up with them, or their spouse has passed away, or a grandmother or grandfather has gotten sick with cancer and they're going through something hard. These are things that are realities. And we can't bullshit our way through them. We have to acknowledge them and say, these are things that are happening in my life, and I'm afraid to lose them in a healthy, positive way because they mean something to me. This person means something to me. This place means something to me. This thing means something to me. And if they don't mean something to you, then why are they in your life? There are things that we can't control, again, but we're talking about the things we can control. We're not talking about stuff we can't control. We're talking about the things that we have control over. The people we let go, the people that we let in, the things we let go, the things that we let into our lives, the places we let go, the places that we allow ourselves to stay in that we're not happy with. That balance, that scale, we have control over those things. They're just on a smaller scale of moments versus the big umbrella scale of all the other things that contribute to those things being influenced in a positive or negative way if we're not active enough with interacting with them. The problem with each and every one of us is that we have a lot going on within ourselves. A lot of it is unexplainable to ourselves, let alone being able to explain it to other people, which is why therapy and counseling and life coaching and mentoring is so popular these days. There is a lot of shit going on in everyone's lives. And we have to figure these things out one scenario at a time. And that guarantee that we're looking for, that this person isn't going to leave us when we're so emotionally invested, that this job we'll be able to keep, or this church we'll be able to keep going to, or this and that and the other. All of the things that we have to deal with every single day. That fear of loss should be the guide marker that gets us to true appreciation, being grateful and satisfied of who we have around us, what we have, and where we are. We have to be open-minded enough, not closed-minded, open-minded enough to know, especially as we get older in age, to know the difference between someone who is special in our life, something that is special, some place that is special, versus the ones who aren't. We have to realize when decision making are crossroads moments, they're gambles based on things that are not aligned with what we really want. It's just a shot in the dark because we think we know everything. We're not trusting our intuition. We're not trusting ourselves. We're just trying to get through the dark with no flashlight. We're not even trying to wait for daylight. We're too impatient, impulsive. But then on the other spectrum, we procrastinate. We'll sit back and wait and overthink things. And that's that fear. Indecisiveness, procrastination, excuses, non-ownership, no accountability. All that is in the area of, I know I'm in control, but I don't know what to do. Or, I know I'm in control, but I want to be selfish and take what I want from this person, a little bit from this, a little bit of that. I'm going to kind of just mold this all together in some kind of freaking Frankenstein. And that's not how life works. We're not, again, guaranteed anything in life. So if we're not guaranteed anything in life, what makes us think that we're guaranteed anything any moment? Because again, we're looking too far ahead. We're looking at, well, down the line, I should get this. I should be over here. I should have this person. I should have that. What do you have right now in the next few moments that contributes to the long-term vision that you have? And that's what Blueprints of Life is all about for me. And what I wanted for The Brave Never Fall was realistic, open-minded imagination filled moments that can be created and turned into reality. True reality through passion and purpose is built upon self respect, self love, boundaries, strength through knowing who we are, strength through knowing who we are spiritually, strength through knowing who we are emotionally and mentally. Again, going back to how we're feeling, being in tune to how we're feeling. It's not woo woo. This is stuff we do every single day. The difference between one person focusing on all this stuff and the person who doesn't think about it at all is results. Because the more we think about these things, if you are forced, like I'm a person, I have to get to a point every day where I'm not thinking about this stuff because I don't want to overthink my mind, my body, my heart, and my soul. I want to also enjoy the day. So the goal is not to be sitting here in your brain all the time. The goal is to make this stuff second nature, where it's just a part of you, where you're thinking every day, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. You are truly grateful. It's inside of you. It's something that is a part of you. It's not something that you have to turn on and off and say, tomorrow at 3 p.m., I need to set my alarm to remind myself to be grateful for all the people, places, and things in my life. And on Saturday at 12 p.m., I'm going to make sure I set my alarm to make sure I go outside and look at my house and say, thank you. I'm so happy I have you. I mean, we're not robots here. We're not cartoon characters. We're not caricatures of ourselves. We are real human beings with real responsibilities, real relationships, real careers, real education, real spiritual endeavors. We are real people. And if we take any of it for granted, we certainly aren't going to even sniff a guarantee in life about anything. Because it starts right there with again, what's in front of you. And if what's in front of you is something that you don't even appreciate, how do you build upon it? How can we ask for more of what we're not even appreciating? And then furthermore, what are we doing to really facilitate these things that we want? It's just like a relationship. If we want someone in a relationship to be what we want them to be, we are expected to be that exact same thing. Otherwise, it will not work. That dynamic will fail because there will be an exposure on one person's end because they're asking for something that they're not willing to give. And again, relationships are about giving. Life is about giving. So if we're giving to life something that we know if we give it, we may get it in return, we're much more likely to actually obtain that vision. But if we're asking for life and we're sitting back and twirling our thumbs and say, well, I'm not going to move to get any of it. I expect this to happen. I'm entitled. I'm selfish. I need this person, this place, and this thing right now. I don't need to work on myself. Oh, I do? Well, I'll get around to it when I get around to it. That's not how it works. And that's a poor attitude in life towards things that you expect for yourself. There are people out there, and we all know them. They want more out of life than they're willing to put into life. And that type of a person, and I will say that we have all done this because this is how you learn how to not be this person. You have to learn that doesn't work when it really comes down to what you really want. If there's something that you want out of life, you have to go get it. Now, there are situations where over pursuing doesn't do you any good either, which is why, again, we shouldn't be looking too far ahead. We shouldn't be over pursuing our lives. We should be right here in front of us, just pursuing the moment and acknowledging and appreciating in the moment what we have. And if we think about it, if somebody walked up to you and said, hey, you're not going to be here for much longer. I can't even give you a date. It could be 1 day, it could be 1 year. What are you going to do about it? Imagine someone telling you, not asking what you think about it, just flat out telling you, your time's limited. You may have 1 year or 1 day. I don't know. That is the non-guarantee of life right there in front of you. There are no guarantees in life. And we shouldn't have to have somebody tell us that. We all know people who are terminal, who are going through things that are going to end their lives. And at that point, when you look at that type of scenario, and I've had conversations with people that I've coached in the last few months that have been going through this, and it is one of the hardest things to talk about with them because they are facing something they cannot control that has an inevitable end, and they have to deal with it every freaking moment of their lives. And not only that, that's their loved one that is going to be going away, but they don't know, even within themselves, they're dealing with things and they could be gone before that person because we don't know. I've seen someone grieving for someone and they're truly sad and they're scared to death, and they end up passing away before the person that they were so concerned about. And now this person is having to grieve while knowing that their life is going to be ended. It's just, this is life. And this is a subject that I didn't want to really speak too deeply on, because the whole point of this is not to induce fear. The whole point of the neverphobia, going back to that word, is that this is not to scare anyone. It's to bring into reality. Again, getting in your mind, using your imagination, being open-minded enough to see what's right in front of you and appreciate it, because it's not guaranteed. And there are no blueprints, there are no visions, there are no passions and purpose in life if we don't appreciate our own existence moment to moment. It starts there. That was a really weird conversation I heard on the Joe Rogan podcast, and there was a scientist on there. I think it was an astrophysicist, and he was talking about, we are human beings and we have a consciousness, and if we were born from the universe or any god that you think of, then everything around us must have consciousness as well. And if that's the case, everything around us essentially has a purpose. So space has a purpose, the earth has a purpose, because if consciousness exists within us, it has to exist everywhere else, because we were made from whatever creator you want to think of. The point we're making is that out of all those scenarios, nothing is something that's going to go on forever. It's not infinite, it's finite. At some point, a sun is going to go supernova, and it's going to it'll live on, but not the way it was. You know, everything in life has an evolution, a change. And I'm not talking about human evolution. I'm not talking about that type of evolution. I'm talking about just general change. When you're born as a baby, you're not going to look like that when you die. This isn't the curious case of Benjamin Button, where we go backwards. We have an evolution every single day. We're just getting older. The clock's ticking. And that's the type of evolution I'm talking about. We're just evolving as our own selves within our own DNA. When you look in the mirror, 10 years from now, you're not going to look like that. That's, for all intents and purposes, that's aging, that's evolution. You're evolving into a different type of person. If you went back and talked to a person, to yourself, it would feel like a person. But if you went back and talked to yourself 10, 15 years after you turn 60, and you go back and talk to your 50-year-old self or your 60-year-old, your 30-year-old self or your 20-year-old self, that's going to seem like a completely different person. And that's good. That means life is happening. You're experiencing life. You're going through life, and hopefully you're learning from life, and you're rebuilding and creating what you need, when you need to do it, how you need to do it, without restrictions within yourself, because you're holding yourself back. You're not allowing yourself to be so closed-minded and just so unimaginative that you cannot push forward through what you know you should be. And no one says you have to go and turn into some big flamboyant personality in the world. We're talking about just simple, basic, are you happy? Are you content? Do you wake up every day and you are truly joyful no matter what's going on in your life, no matter who's in your life, where you are, what you have? Can you find a way to smile and be happy every single day? And if you can do that with that banner of there are no guarantees in life hanging over your head each and every day, if you can find that peace within yourself and that joy and that purpose and that passion every single day, and you're building on it because you're looking at who's around you and what you have and where you are, and you truly appreciate it, imagine doing that every single day, the results, the success, the happiness, the peace and the joy you will acquire. Imagine a life where you are not taking anyone for granted, anything, any place, and you're committing to that to the point where you don't even think about it anymore. That's the goal, to be truly grateful every single day, to know that that blueprint is waiting for you to recreate wherever you want every single day, as long as you stay in the moment. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall. We rise and maintain balance.